Hello everyone, I'm back. So, those of you that aren't familiar with my channel, what I do is I show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So while this isn't good, I guess it's bad, but it could have been a lot worse. Anyway, let me explain to you what happened. So I have my ZL1, and I've got a lot of cars, and Corvettes are really bad about parasitic drains. Sorry, I live on an airport runway, so that's what you're hearing in the background. So they're really bad about parasitic drains, so you either have to keep a charger on them all the time, a battery maintainer, or you have to start them regularly. Literally, the battery lasts anywhere from, I guess, 3 weeks to a month, and if you don't do something, it won't start. So I decided I would start being responsible and start starting and rotating my cars regularly. So I did it with my C5. That's a 53 retro. Got it up, running, refreshed, ready to go. I still need to get it inspected and licensed. That's the next thing to do. Next car was, I did the 427 car as well. Put a charger on it. Again, it only been a couple weeks and it was having trouble starting, so I put a battery maintainer on it for a couple of days, and it's back up and running, starting like it should. So then the next car in the rotation was the ZL1. So last night I go out, turn the key. It's been months and months since I started it. It started up, but it was a little bit slow cranking. So I thought, hey, it needs to charge up. I'll go ahead and just let it run for a little while I go in and get the battery charger. So I go in to get the battery charger. It starts sprinkling while I'm sitting in the car, so I go ahead and shut the car, go inside. Unbeknownst to me, this thing is programmed to where it will actually lock the doors while it's running with the key in the ignition and the door shut. So I come back out with a charger only to find out that the car's locked. Can't get in, don't have a spare. I bought the car, didn't have a spare key when I bought the car. So I thought, all right. Luckily, I had noticed that it was really low on gas. This runs only on E85, so it was real low on gas. So I said, all right, maybe it'll run out of gas, but in the meantime, let me go ahead and see what I can do. So I thought, I'll just open up the hood, disconnect the battery, and that'll kill the car. Then I'll worry about how to get into the car later. So I decide to open up the hood. Well, the problem is, of course, it has either a hood release inside or a cable. So I thought I could just reach in and get to the cable. Well, I can't do that. It wouldn't work. So let me show you what I ended up doing. So I ended up going through the grill here and taking the latch off. Let me open the hood. All right, so I took the latch off through this hole you can see. So the latch is here, it fell down. Not sure if we can get a good view of it. Not sure if it'll fit through this hole. Probably not. No. Anyway, I thought I could get in here and reach the mechanism and operate it just like the cable would. So the first thing I tried was using one of these hooks like this and going in there and grabbing the cable and pulling it. Well, the cable's so short that there literally wasn't enough slack to be able to get it to pull in. If it had been a long cable, something like that, and I could have pulled it down, it would have gone that way as much, but it was so short that pulling it down didn't cause it to move in the other direction. And in fact, it damaged the cable. Hopefully not a lot, but it definitely did a little bit. So then I tried to reach behind and get to the mechanism that the cable pulls, and for some strange reason I couldn't get it to work. And of course now, let's see if I can get it. Now that I can see what I'm doing, it's really easy to get to, but for some strange reason I couldn't get that to release. Might have been because of the spring pressure. I don't know. I did try to reach in and just hit the lever to go sideways, but actually there's an interlock where unless this thing is already released, it won't let you do that. Anyway, for future reference, like I said, it's hard to see. There we go. For future reference, there's the release that the cable pulls on. So now I know what to go for. If you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, it mounts, yeah, it mounts this way. So it's going to be at the bottom corner right here. And you can actually get to this. Let me flip this thing around if I can. Hard to do one-handed. Oh, yep, sure enough. So it's the bottom right corner as you're looking at it. You could pull that. It would, oh, I don't know what it releases. It releases something. And obviously the hood would have to pop up. I don't know. I've never actually messed with that before. Anyway, so then if I could have gotten that to release, then I could have reached in from the bottom side, hit the lever here, and made that go over. But like I said, oh, sorry. There we go. I could have hit that. So I was trying to push this, but it would only go far enough, and it wouldn't actually let that go. So I ended up taking the whole thing off. I was trying to do all of that with it bolted. So only 2 bolts holding it, and I was able to come through the grill here. And again, hard to see this. There's 2 bolt holes in there that hold that in place. There's one you can barely see, the sun's not helping. Anyway, just took a long extension and a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Remove those 2 bolts. It still wasn't easy, but it did allow me to mess around with it. Right exactly at the time I got the hood to release, the car ran out of fuel. All right, not ideal. The problem then was that the headlights were on. The car was on and the headlights were on. I figured the ignition on wouldn't be that big of a deal, but the headlights I knew would run the battery down. So I thought, well, I'll just disconnect the battery. Well, on the ZL1, the battery's in the trunk. So I come up here, and the first thing I do is I decide, well, I'll just disconnect the battery cable from the trunk to the front. There's a junction right there where that cable and that cable, 1, 2, 3 cables go to a stud that merely just connects those 3 cables together. Disconnect all 3, headlights are still on, and the tail lights. All right, that's not going to work. So then I go, what's next? I'll come over here and look, and there is a next larger cable right there that mounts to this stud right here, and this small wire as well. So I remove those. Lights are still on. Next thing I decide to do is open up this box here, fuse box, and start pulling relays and fuses. You can see here that I started with the biggest ones and went down, pulled out every single relay and fuse. Headlights still on. All right. Then I started to take this apart. So I loosened these 3 bolts right here, hoping to split this. And I couldn't figure out how to get this off once I took those 3 bolts out. I figured you were going to have to pry it probably. So, oh, and before I did all of this, I searched Google to try to figure out if there was some way around it. I even heard horror stories about locksmiths not being able to get into these cars because of the new style key and the way the window is and all of that. So I wanted to try to do something myself. I didn't know how to split this. I see there's some little tabs right here, and I couldn't see how in the world I was going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of them. How in the world am I going to hold on 10? Oh, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So at least 15 of these little tabs. How am I going to hold 15 tabs in to release it and pull this up? So I go again on YouTube and try to find something. Couldn't find anything. Oh, I forgot to mention, it started raining when I did it. I mentioned that it rained. Well, it was raining a little bit, and it started raining really hard. So about this time, it was midnight, and I was tired. So I just threw in the towel. So I went ahead and left it last night with the lights on, and as expected, and it was only the running lights, they're LEDs, so I didn't know how much they would drain. But sure enough, got up this morning, it's stone dead. Not surprising, not unexpected. So what did I do? I called a locksmith just to see. Come to find out, it was only $79 to have a locksmith come out and pick the lock. One of the reasons I avoided that is, like I said, I looked online and on the Camaro forums, and some of them were talking about the fact that they actually, locksmiths couldn't get their car open. 2 different locksmiths had tried, and finally they ended up doing it the old-fashioned way, where they got in here and pried the window up, put a wedge in here, and they have I don't know if you've seen the air-filled little bladders that you can put in there. They stuck one of those in there, pumped it up. You can get them at Home Depot or Amazon. And what they're advertised for, what I saw them advertised for, is leveling doors. When you're working by yourself, you put those underneath, and then you just pump them up and let them down. Their bladders hold a lot of pressure, and it allows you to level the door while you're putting hinges in or whatever. So it allows you to do a door by yourself. So anyway, what that does is it pries the window out. Unfortunately, there's a lip right here. And so they said that by the time they pried this out and got in there and they actually opened it up and pushed an unlock button. So the other thing is, I bought this car and haven't done anything with it, so I wasn't familiar with it. I didn't know if it had a push. The C8 has a push button to get in and out. This actually has a lever. And what else? Somebody was saying something about a center unlock button, but I don't know. Nope, I don't think it has that. I can't see. What does that say? Tour. Oh, that's your different modes. So this does not have a center unlock. So my challenge was, even if I got something in there, I didn't know what to push. Now, there's the lock and unlock on the door, but I'd have to get something in and get it to curve back around the door and push on the unlock button instead of the lock button, or try the old way to hook onto the handle and pull. I honestly didn't see any way for me to do that without doing a lot of damage to this car. So that's when I went ahead and called the locksmith anyway, thinking, well, oh, and I did run into a YouTube where a guy actually picked the lock on one of these. He's a locksmith. So the challenge with these is the keys are the newer style of key. You pull it out now that it's, and it's got the slot instead of the normal one. So you have to have a special, it's a piece that looks like this, and it has 2 little pieces on the end. And there's a key, there's like 4 positions, I think. And so he goes through and finds the first position, second position, third, fourth, might be 5, I don't know what. And so actually it's a piece that goes in there, and he literally, I bet it took him, I know it took him less than 5 minutes. It probably only took him a couple of minutes. Anyway, so he unlocked it. $79 to unlock my car. Now, if I would have called last night when this happened, it probably would have cost me an extra emergency charge. But honestly, it would have been worth it, because the amount of time it took me to screw with all this stuff was hours. Anyway, lesson learned. So a couple things is, 1, I'm going to get, obviously, a duplicate key made. 2, this key fob, when I bought the car, it was this way, did not come with a spare set of keys. And those that don't know, there's this thing is supposed to push in, and a key comes out there, and it doesn't work, or they left it off or whatever. I couldn't get it to do anything. Oh, anyway, so, but the key fob also is broken. And the seller said, oh, I just used something and pushed down on those, and don't worry about it. No, I didn't have anything, and like I said, didn't know. The other thing, as I found out, if you push the button once, it unlocks only the driver's door. If you push the button twice, It unlocks both doors and supposedly keeps it from locking you out. Now, I can't test that because to test that, I'd have to put this in here and then I would be screwed. So when I get a replacement and a duplicate of this, I will test that to see. But before I do any of that, after I charge the battery and get this thing going, actually after I undo all the stuff or redo all the stuff that I undid in the front, I'm going to charge the battery up and go into the infotainment center, and come to find there's a setting that says go ahead and allow it to lock with the key in the ignition. I'm going to turn that setting off, although when I looked online, it's kind of confusing which setting actually controls that. So I have to do some testing, but anyway, all of those will make it to where this can't happen again. And of course, I need to get duplicate keys for all my cars. Most of my cars I buy used, and most previous owners have lost the spare key over time. They don't have it. Okay, so now I have the unenviable job of undoing everything I've done, reconnecting everything. I want to do it while the battery's dead, just because then I don't have to worry about accidentally shorting everything out. I was really careful when I was taking all these, especially those large battery cables, off. So now I just have to put everything back on. One of the things I did was I took a picture of the fuse box before I pulled any of the fuses. So instead of having to look up each fuse here and then look on the lid here and see where everything goes by number and key, I can just look at the picture and all of the relays and fuses are marked clearly with a number, so I can just use the picture and match the picture. Much easier. All right, well, that's it. I got to get to it. So anyway, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate, and if you don't know what I'm doing, you don't know jack. See you next time. Bye.